Breaking the silence, Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min's heartfelt announcement stuns fans worldwide. What happens when two stars who've kept their love hidden for over a year finally decide to speak? In a world where rumors rise faster than truth, Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min's quiet revelation hit harder than any scandal, not because it shocked, but because it felt real. Their message wasn't scripted. Their emotions weren't staged. And the world could feel it. From whispers to headlines, from secrecy to sincerity, the story behind their heartfelt announcement has captured hearts across the globe. Let's uncover the truth and the tender journey behind this unforgettable moment, right here with the red carpet revealed. It began on a Thursday morning, quiet, ordinary. Utterly unprepared for the storm that was about to break. At exactly 8:01 a.m., two short statements appeared on official agency pages. No cryptic captions. Staged photographs, just words. Simple and sincere. We ask for your understanding and warm support as we continue to cherish each other with respect and care. It was signed, Jung Hae-in and So-min. Within minutes, the world imploded. On social media, the phrase Jung Hae-in and So-min erupted into the #1 trending topic worldwide. Fans flooded timelines with disbelief, joy, rage, and awe. Some cried. Some screamed. Some simply sat in stunned silence, refreshing the post over and over as if to confirm it was real. This wasn't a scandal. It wasn't even gossip. It was truth, dropped without warning. Soft and devastating like a confession whispered in a crowd. The entertainment industry froze. PR managers scrambled. Journalists flooded inboxes. And every fan forum buzzed with the same question: how long had this been happening? But beneath the chaos was something purer, relief. Because somewhere deep down, people had always known. A year earlier, during the filming of Winter Sonata, the next chapter, sparks had already been noticed, tiny, almost invisible things that cameras weren't meant to catch. The way Jung Hae-in looked at her between takes. The softness in So-min's voice when she said his name. Their laughter during interviews that didn't feel rehearsed. Even the director admitted later, there were times I forgot they were acting. When Winter Sonata premiered, it was an instant hit, not because of its plot, but because of them. The chemistry was undeniable, magnetic, and unexplainable. Months, fans speculated. Was it acting, or something real? But both actors remained silent. Stage, away from the glittering lights and microphones. Their world was smaller, simpler. They spoke little between takes. Not out of distance but fear of being seen. The industry was ruthless. Rumors could end a career faster than applause could build one. Still, moments slipped through. A scarf shared between them on a freezing night shoot. A quiet dinner after a late rehearsal. A note left in a script: don't forget to eat. These were not grand gestures, but fragments of a life too fragile to name. Jung Hae-in once told his manager, "We're not hiding because we're ashamed. Hiding because this is the only way to protect something real." The manager sighed. "Then be ready to lose it if the world finds out." He was right, and wrong. The first photo came 6 months later. A grainy shot of two figures walking through a park, wearing masks. Their hands brushing. Have been anyone. But the internet decided it was them. The tabloids followed within hours. Exclusive. Jung Hae-in and So-min's secret date. Agencies denied it, of course. Close friends, nothing more. But once the seed was planted, speculation bloomed like wildfire. Comment sections overflowed. "You can't fake those smiles. I knew it, let them live." Others weren't as kind. "She's ruining his image. He's too good for her." For every blessing, there were 10 judgments. So-min stopped using social media for a while. Jung Hae-in stopped smiling in public as easily. They learned to walk separately to the same destinations. But love has a way of ignoring fear. On set, they found comfort in small defiance, exchanging glances when the camera wasn't rolling. Whispering jokes that made the crew suspicious. Holding eye contact longer than necessary in every take. "Cut," the director would yell. Neither would move right away. One night, after a particularly emotional scene, So-min broke first. "You know they're going to find out someday." He smiled faintly. "Then let's give them something worth finding." Behind the scenes, their relationship deepened. It wasn't glamorous. No candlelit dinners, no luxury trips. Just quiet evenings in Jung Hae-in's apartment. Talking about everything and nothing. He'd cook instant noodles while she reviewed her next script. Sometimes they'd watch movies in silence, their hands brushing on the couch like strangers afraid to be seen. "I used to think love would feel like fireworks," she once said. "And now it feels like breathing." When Winter Sonata ended, both of them were exhausted. The show had made them household names, and prisoners of attention. The media began trailing them, waiting for a slip-up. One reporter even bribed a staff member to leak their filming schedule. Ji-hoon's manager urged him to distance himself from Seo-min publicly, just for a few months. He refused. "If I start pretending now, I'll never stop." That's when the idea of speaking out was born, quietly, recklessly. Like a whisper shared under a storm. The night before the announcement, they met on a rooftop overlooking the Han River. The city below shimmered like liquid glass. "Are we really doing this?" she asked. He nodded. "I don't want to spend another year pretending not to care. And if they turn against us, then we'll walk through it together." She smiled, a fragile, trembling smile that felt braver than any script line she'd ever delivered. They didn't say "I love you." They didn't have to. The silence between them already screamed it. At midnight, they drafted the statement together, 12 lines of honesty, rewritten until every word felt like both confession and shield. When they hit send, they didn't look back. Morning, the world was awake, and so were they. Ji-hoon sat in his kitchen, watching sunlight creep through the blinds. His phone vibrating endlessly with calls, messages, and headlines. Seo-min stayed curled up on her sofa, tears slipping quietly down her face as she read messages from fans, some cruel, most kind. One comment stood out. "You didn't break our hearts. You reminded us what love looks like when it's real." That evening, when they finally saw each other again, the air between them felt lighter, fragile, but free. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly. Her eyes tired but clear. "No. I think silence was the real mistake." For the first time, they laughed, not the nervous laughter of two people pretending to be calm, but the relieved, breathless kind that comes when you finally stop running. Outside, the city kept spinning. Headlines kept flashing. But for once, the noise didn't matter. Because in a world addicted to speculation, had given it something it wasn't prepared for, the truth. And that, more than anything, was what stunned everyone. The world didn't end, though for a while. It felt like it might. The morning after their announcement, it was an orchestra of noise, camera shutters firing like thunder, reporters calling their names from behind gates, radio shows replaying their statement between love songs. Behind all the chaos was a quiet shift, a strange, collective softening. People weren't angry. They were moved. Hashtags that once spread like wildfire with gossip now filled with messages of warmth. Finally, love that feels honest. And hide. They just waited for the right time. Protect Ji-hoon and Seo-min at all costs. Once, the internet wasn't tearing love apart, it was defending it. Still, inside their world, aftermath was heavy. Ji-hoon sat in the agency's glass meeting room, blinds drawn, the air thick with tension. Manager scrolled through an endless feed of headlines. Statistics, endorsement values, sponsorship renewals, public sentiment graphs. "You've broken the internet," he said dryly. "Half the brands are pausing contracts. The other half want you both in couple campaigns." Ji-hoon smiled faintly. "Chaos, as usual." "Chaos, yes. But this time, it's your kind." Across town, Seo-min was at her studio, staring at her reflection. He didn't look different. Same soft eyes, same steady voice. But something inside had shifted, a kind of freedom she hadn't known she missed. Her assistant peeked in. "Honey, are you ready for the press conference?" He nodded slowly. "More ready than I thought I'd ever be." The ballroom was blinding, chandeliers glinting like sunlight on ice, cameras flashing in bursts of white. Dozens of reporters filled the seats, their pens poised like arrows. When Ji-hoon and Seo-min stepped onto the stage together, a hush fell, not the cold silence of judgment. Reverent quiet before something sacred. They bowed. Then Ji-hoon spoke first, his voice calm but threaded with emotion. "Here, we lived in fear of being misunderstood. But today, we decided to stop fearing and start living." Seo-min took a breath. "We didn't plan this. We didn't mean to fall in love while filming. But when something real happens, hiding it feels like betrayal, not to the world, but to yourself." For a moment, No one moved. Unexpectedly, applause broke out, slow at first, then growing. Echoing across the hall. Reporters lowered their cameras. Some even smiled. One journalist asked softly, "The wait." Ji-hoon looked at Seo Minimum. She smiled. "It's worth everything." By evening, the press called it the most graceful confession in Korean entertainment history. Even international outlets picked it up. Love over fear, Ji-hoon and Seo Min rewrite the rules of celebrity romance. Fan clubs held virtual watch parties, lighting up timelines with messages like "They won't be our secret anymore, they'll be our story." For the first time in a long time, love wasn't a scandal. It was a celebration. Behind the spotlight, though, the quiet moments were heavier. That night, they returned to Ji-hoon's apartment, their first night together without masks, without whispers. The city hummed outside, but inside, silence was soft and warm. Seo Min curled up on the couch, exhausted but glowing. "We really did it," she whispered. Handed her tea, his smile faint. "I think the world did it with us. Do you regret anything?" He hesitated. "Only that we waited so long to breathe." She reached out, her fingers brushing his. "Let's promise, no more hiding. No more silence," he echoed. Weeks passed. The frenzy cooled, replaced by something gentler: respect. Agencies reported record-breaking engagement. Magazines called them the couple that changed everything. Brands offered double contracts, not to exploit, but to celebrate. But Ji-hoon and Seo Min refused most of them. Wanted peace, not profit. Instead, they disappeared for a while, taking a quiet trip to Jeju Island. Away from lights and lenses. They rented a small cottage near the cliffs. Spent mornings walking along the beach. And evenings cooking simple meals together. "This," she said one night, watching him slice onions. "What, the ocean or the smell of burnt noodles?" She laughed. "Both." He grinned. "It's strange. For the first time, I don't feel like we're acting. Maybe we never were." Back in Seoul, things began to shift. Other actors started speaking up. In relationships that had long been hidden. Journalists began changing how they wrote headlines. Less accusation, more empathy. The industry called it the Ji-seo effect. A veteran columnist wrote, "They didn't announce love, they reminded us that love itself isn't something to hide." It wasn't revolution. Exactly. Just evolution. But in an industry built on illusion. That was enough to feel historic. Months later, Ji-hoon and Seo Min returned to work, together again. This time in a new film titled The Sound of Light. A press briefing, a reporter asked, "Aren't you afraid the audience won't see your characters, only you two?" Seo Min smiled. "If they see love, that's fine. It means we're doing our job right." Ji-hoon added, "Our chemistry used to be a rumor. Now, just good storytelling." The room laughed, and for once, so did they. The movie was a masterpiece, quiet, romantic, painfully human. Critics called it a reflection of love beyond fame. In one scene, their characters stand under the rain, hands trembling as they try to say goodbye. No lines, just eye contact. The audience cried not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. When the film premiered, standing ovations echoed for minutes. Fans chanted their names like a prayer. That night, backstage, Seo Min turned to him and whispered, "Feels like the world finally saw us for who we are." He looked at her. No, they saw what love looks like when it's brave. Time passed. Seasons changed. Fame, as always, moved on to newer faces, fresher stories. Ji-hoon and Seo Min's story lingered, not as gossip, but as legacy. They became symbols of sincerity, of courage wrapped in tenderness. And though their love no longer made headlines, it made something better: peace. 1 year later, on the anniversary of their announcement, he posted a single photo on his social media: 2 coffee mugs on a balcony, sunlight spilling across the table. No caption. Fans understood instantly. The comment section filled with hearts and one repeating phrase: "No more silence." Evening, they sat together watching the sunset. "Ever think about that first day?" she asked. "Every time I hear a notification sound," he said, smiling. "But it's different now. Doesn't scare me anymore." She rested her head on his shoulder. "We made it through." He nodded. "We did." Horizon blazed gold as the city below flickered to life. Somewhere far away, headlines were already being written about newer stories, newer couples, but none of that mattered. Because in this quiet, honest moment, was no audience. No camera, no pretense. Just two people who had finally learned how to love out loud. Years later, a young interviewer asked Ji Hoon, "What does love mean to you now?" He thought for a long time before answering. "It means being seen, and not being afraid of what happens next." When asked the same question in another interview, Min smiled softly. "Love isn't the silence before confession. It's the courage after." The world remembered those words long after the interviews ended. 'Cause, in the end, Ji Hoon and Seo Min's story wasn't about celebrity or surprise. It was about the quiet revolution that happens when two people choose honesty over fear. They didn't just break the silence. They rewrote what it meant to be heard. Every story begins with a whisper, and ends with a heartbeat. Between those two moments, people, fragile, brave, imperfect, and human. To everyone who read until the very last line, thank you. Thank you for believing in stories that aren't about scandal, but about sincerity. Thank you for feeling, not just reading. And thank you for reminding me that love, in all its quiet forms, still matters. This piece wasn't about fame or headlines. It was about courage, the courage to be honest in a world built on performance. To hold someone's hand when the world wants proof. To say we're real even when it's easier to hide. To those who still believe that truth can be tender. Vulnerability isn't weakness. And that silence can be broken by kindness. This story is yours. 'Cause in the end, love isn't the noise that follows us. The stillness we find when we finally stop pretending. Thank you for listening. Thank you for feeling. And thank you for remembering that sometimes, the softest stories leave the loudest echoes.